Hare Krishna, ISKCON Chennai welcomes you to day 4 of the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are going to talk about Varaha Avatar. Before narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam, we must always say the following prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So before we start the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, we must always narrate the following prayers. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Nar Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, who is the author of Srimad Bhagavatam. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and other cowherd men of Vrindavana, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. Then we chant the Panchatattva mantra and the Hare Krishna Maha mantra, and then we proceed to narrate the stories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, what is Srimad Bhagavatam? It is full of transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead and his pure devotees. In the absolute world, there is no difference in quality between the Supreme Lord and his pure devotee. Therefore, hearing the topics of the Lord and hearing of the character and activities of pure devotee have the same result, namely the development of devotional service. So, here Srimad Bhagavatam says that the character and activity of the pure devotee have the same result as hearing the topics of the Lord, because they are purified by listening to the transcendental topics of the Lord. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam is called transcendental. Why is it transcendental? Because it is out of this world. It was brought from the spiritual world to the material world by Narada. Narada heard this from his father Brahma, and Brahma heard it from Lord Narayana himself. Lord Narada, he came to this material world and he imparted this knowledge to Vyasadeva, who in turn imparted to Shukadeva Goswami, who imparted this knowledge to Parikshit Maharaj. And those who were listening over there, they have started imparting this knowledge to one and all. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam, people talk about the topics in the Srimad Bhagavatam as the stories which are fictional or myth, but it is not so. These are actual stories which have taken place on this earth in different yugas. They talk of the transcendental activities of the Lord, who appears here in various times to protect the devotees. He comes in various forms and he protects them. So these are actual uh, stories and pastimes of the Lord which has taken place. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam is called Amala Puranam, the spotless literature. In the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, it is mentioned Nigama Kalpa Taror Galitam Phalam. Nigama means Vedas. The Lord first imparted Vedas and he also imparted Srimad Bhagavatam to Brahma. So, Vedas, they are called the Kalpa Vriksha tree. Why Kalpa Vriksha tree? Kalpa Taror means Kalpa Vriksha tree. A Kalpa Vriksha tree is a desire tree which fulfills all your desires, fulfills each and every desire. So that is why Vedas are called a Kalpataror. Galitam Phalam. Galitam means ripened and Phalam is fruit. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the Galitam Phalam of the Vedas. Vedas, they contain all material topics and spiritual topics. It contains knowledge of how you should live in this world, how you should go back to the spiritual world. It teaches of this martial arts, of the military art. Then it talks of medicine. It has chapters on various topics. Everything you will find in the Vedas. But Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all the Vedas, and hence it is the ripened fruit. That is why it is called a ripened fruit. Now, a ripened fruit is very tasty when it ripes on the tree itself. But when you take it out and you ripe it, there will be a difference in the taste. The sweetness will be less. In the same way, Shuka Goswami, Shuka also means parrot. A parrot, it pecks at the tastiest fruit on the tree, and the juice which falls from the tree when it pecks the fruit and it eats the fruit, the juice which falls down from the tree is very eagerly licked by the ants which come running over there to lick the fruits of the tree which has fallen down from the fruit. In the same manner, Srimad Bhagavatam has been tasted, has emanated from the nectarian lips of Shukadeva Goswami, and all those who are listening to this nectarian pastimes which has emanated from Shukadeva Goswami are equal to the ants which are licking the juice of the fruits. So Srimad Bhagavatam is an essential reading for everybody. Srimad Bhagavatam is the Grantha Bhagavatam. It is also the person Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, the Grantha Bhagavatam, should be listened from the person Bhagavatam. Why? Because the person Bhagavatam has seen the Lord and therefore he can impart the knowledge of the Lord. Now, Brahma has seen Lord Narayana and he has imparted that to Narada, and Narada has imparted to Vyasa. Vyasa has imparted to uh, Shukadeva Goswami. So it is coming in the parampara system. Now, for example, we can understand this with a material example. If you have a photo of your father in your house, and if a person has a photo of a father in his house, and his son asks his father, Dad, who is this person in this photo? So this Mr. A, he will say, he is my father. So now the boy has taken the knowledge from his father that he is his grandfather. The person in the photo is his grandfather. When the boy grows up and he has a son, the that son will ask his father, who is this person in the photograph? So that boy, he will say, he is my grandfather. So this knowledge of the person in the photo is coming from father to son, son to son, son to son. So this is how the Srimad Bhagavatam also comes from father to son, from son to son, the same manner. So this is called a parampara system. And since it is coming in the parampara system, it is authentic literature. So you cannot call this as a myth. Now, today we are going to talk about Lord Varaha. Before that, we have to understand that Srimad Bhagavatam, it also mentions that there are two types of people who live in this world. One is the demoniac and one is the demigod. The demoniac people, they defy the injunctions of the scriptures, and they do not believe in the existence of the Lord. Whereas the divine, they follow the injunctions of the scriptures. Not only they follow the injunctions of the scriptures, they practice it and they also teach it to the other persons and help them to go back to Godhead. Now, the demoniac people, they create more havoc in the world. They do not believe in the existence of the Lord. They are very powerful. They have a lot of muscle power and they have a lot of money. With the power of money and muscle, they think they can conquer anyone and everyone, and they can create havoc and do anything as they wish. Both are the children of the same Prajapati, yet one follows the injunctions of the Lord and one does not follow the injunctions of the Lord. Now, before this, now how Varaha came? Now, do you know that Varaha appeared twice in this material world? One as Shweta Varaha avatar and one as Rakta Varaha avatar. One in the Swayambhuva Manu and one in the Chakshusha Manu. So, we will see about that, about the appearance of the Lord. Brahma, when he was created by the Lord, first he created the four Kumaras. The four Kumaras were ordered to procreate. They refused to procreate, and Brahma then created Prajapatis, Rishis, and everyone. But he saw that still the earth is not the earth, the universe is not being properly inhabited, not being sufficiently inhabited. So he's concentrating on what he should do to create more beings. At that time, two two persons appear in front of him from his body, one in a male form and one in a female form. The male form is called as Swayambhuva Manu, and the female form was called Shatarupa. So Brahma orders them to create progeny. Swayambhuva Manu asks his father, "What should I do? How can I do service to you?" So Brahma says, "Both of you, you all procreate and fill this universe with living entities." So he asks for the place where the living entities would live. So Brahma says it should be the earth, and Swayambhuva Manu brings it to the notice of Brahma that the earth is under the Garbhodaka ocean, and that we have to take out the earth from the under the Garbhodaka ocean, and only then there will be a place for the entities. So Brahma is now pondering as to how to take out the earth under the Garbhodaka ocean, and he realizes that in the process of creation he was not aware of the partial dissolution in which the earth went under the Garbhodaka ocean. So as he is concentrating and he thinks, just as Lord has helped me in the process of creation, he will also help me in this. Just as he was thinking so, there was a small white form of a boar which comes from his nostril. And as he was looking, it was only in the size of the top portion of the thumb. And as he was looking, this form just went on increasing in size. It went up to the sky and assumed a form of bigger than a giant elephant. So they were all of them were wondering. Brahma and his associates, all the sages, the Prajapatis, everybody is wondering who could this be. And Brahma was deliberating. He was thinking, oh, could this be Lord Vishnu himself? So as Brahma thought this, the Lord he gave a loud roar, and this unusual voice could only be of the Lord. And immediately Brahma and others they understood that the Lord has appeared on this earth, and they were very happy. And the people in the Jana, Tapa, and Satyaloka, they were so happy on hearing the loud roar, and they started to sing praises from the Vedas, praising the Lord from the Vedas. They know that Lord is very fond of the Vedas because he himself is the creator of the Vedas. Lord created the Vedas, he imparted that to Brahma, and from Brahma's breath the Vedas came out. So they all consider Lord Varaha as a personified form of the Vedas. So now this, when the upper residents of the upper planetary systems, they are narrating the Vedas, they are singing praises of the Lord from the Vedas. Even the Lord is so happy, and he is reciprocating their love by flying in the sky and separating the clouds and scattering the clouds with his hoofs and tail, and he gives them a loving glance from his lotus like eyes. Now always when the Lord comes in any form, whether in a boar form or fish form or any other form, he is identified by his lotus eyes and the effulgence which comes from his body. So the residents of the upper planetary systems are very happy when they get the darshan of the Lord. And then from there, he gives a great jump into the Garbhodaka ocean. When he jumps into the Garbhodaka ocean is split into two, as though cutting the ocean into two, and the ocean appears to be crying, "Oh Lord, please don't cut us, please protect us, please protect us." Now, just as a hog would dig into the surface of the earth to find whatever it wants, it is searching for, in the same way, Lord Varaha, in the form of a boar, he is going into the Garbhodaka ocean, and with the help of his hooves and his tusks, he is going deep and deep and deep into the Garbhodaka ocean, and finally he finds that the earth at the bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean, she is lying there just as she would be before the creation. He gently lifts her between his tusks, on top of the nose, between his tusks. He gently lifts her and he carries her and he comes out of the Garbhodaka ocean and he places her on the orbit and he goes back to his spiritual world. Now we may wonder, what is this Garbhodaka ocean? What is this partial dissolution? So we must understand first the lifespan of Brahmaji. Now when Lord creates, first he comes as Narayana, as Mahavishnu, and he lies down on the causal ocean. When he lies down on the causal ocean, the Lord breathes out, and from the hair pores of his body, several universes are created. And he fills the material sky with all these universes. So there are as many universes as the bubbles in a Pacific Ocean. You can imagine so many. Now the God's universe, the God's creation, 25% comprises of the material sky and 75% comprises of the spiritual sky. So we are all in this material world is 25% and we are in that. When the Lord breathes in, that time he takes back all the universes again into him and there is full dissolution. Mahapralay. That is what we say. Now the Lord, it's called all the universes which he has created is in the shape of an egg. That is why it is called Brahmanda, created by Brahman, and Anda. Anda means egg. So Brahmanda. And Lord Mahavishnu, he expands himself as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and enters into each and every universe which he has created. In this 25%, when there are so many universes, in that, in one of the universe, we are all existing. Then what Garbhodakashayi Vishnu does is, from the perspiration of his body, he fills half of the universe, 50% of the universe is filled with the perspiration of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, which is called the Garbhodaka ocean. And then he lays down on that Garbhodaka ocean and he concentrates on the creation. That time from the navel sprouts a lotus flower on which appears Brahmaji. Brahmaji is imparted the knowledge of creation and he begins to create. Now, when Brahmaji is creating, there are now we are wondering now where up to the earth has gone into the dissolution, it has gone into the Garbhodaka ocean. Now we have understood Garbhodaka ocean is the perspiration of Lord uh, Garbhodaka Shahi Vishnu. Now, when Brahma is creating, he sees there are 14 planetary systems from the Lord's navel, that is from above the Garbhodaka ocean to the abode of Brahmaji, there are 14 planetary systems. So what are they? Bhur, Bhu, Bhuvar, Swar, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Brahmalo. These are the upper planetary systems above the earth, including the earth and above the earth, they are the upper planetary systems. Below the earth, there are lower planetary systems. They are called Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala. So these are the 14 planetary systems which exist. Now, Brahma's life. We should understand the life of Brahma and when the partial dissolution takes place and when the full dissolution takes place. And what is the Jana and Tapa? Now we have seen the Jana and Tapa, they belong to the higher planetary systems. Now, when there is partial dissolution, up to Swargalok, everything is inundated. Up to Swargalok, everything goes inside the Garbhodaka ocean. And then when Brahma's daytime, again everything is created. So what is the duration of Brahma's day and what is the duration of Brahma's night? The four yugas, which we call as Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga, these four yugas into 1000, if you multiply, is one day of Brahma. And in the same manner, this 1000 Chaturyugas form one night of Brahma. In this way, all these Chaturyugas, when you add and multiply by 1000 and again by 1000 and then multiply by 100, because one day of Brahma consists of 1000 Chaturyugas in the morning and 1000 Chaturyugas of night, multiply by 100. That is the life of Brahmaji. So if you calculate, it comes to 300 and trillion and 40 billion earth years. This is the lifespan of Brahma. During the day, Brahma creates. And when he sleeps at night, there is dissolution. So it was at this time, that is, Brahma was so concentrated on the creation that he forgot that when he slept, there was partial dissolution and the earth went into the Garbhodaka ocean. And that's why when he was reminded by Swayambhuva Manu, he prayed to the Lord, and the Lord came as Shweta Varaha and lifted her from the Garbhodaka ocean and placed her again on the orbit so that there will be no disturbance in Brahma's creation. This is what happened in the Swayambhuva Manu. In Brahma's one day, there are 14 Manus. Swayambhuva Manu was the first Manu. The next Varaha appearance of Lord came in the Chakshusha Manu, which is the sixth Manu. We are in the seventh Manu of Brahma, that is Vaivasvata Manu. We are in the seventh Manu. So the appearance of Lord Varaha came again in the sixth Manu. Now we'll see about that. Now, when Brahma's 100 years is over, then there will be total dissolution. So now, what is the the span of each yuga? Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years. Dwapara Yuga is 8,64,000 years. Then this Treta Yuga is 12,96,000 years, and Satya Yuga is 17,28,000 years. So all this, when you total and multiply by 1,000, is the day of Brahma. This is the length of the yugas. So you can imagine now we have only crossed 5,500 years of Kali Yuga. So still there is so much to go. So this is the lifespan of Brahma, and there will be partial full dissolution after the end of Brahma's life, and everything will go back into Mahavishnu. So this is what we have learned, and all the upper planetary systems and Chana and Tapa and Brahma Lok, those residents are more purified than those compared to the earth. Now in the earth, we have, as I mentioned, we have seen there are two types of demoniac persons. Now both of them are the children of the same father. Now, the first demon appeared in the womb of Diti. So, why this happened? Now, this question was asked by Vidur to Maitreya. Maitreya was talking to Vidur about the appearance of Lord Varaha. So, Vidur asks, why did Lord Varaha kill Hiranyaksha? For that, again, Maitreya he tells the entire story. So, he tells that Lord Brahma he created the Manasi, four Manasi Putras, the four Kumaras, who refused to procreate, but they were self realized souls and they were able to travel anywhere without any prohibition. They could easily go anywhere and come out of anywhere. So, in the same manner, they entered Vaikuntha. When they entered Vaikuntha, now they are in the form of 5-year-old children and they had no clothes on them. When they entered Vaikuntha, the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha were shocked to see such people without any clothes on them entering Vaikuntha, and they prohibited the four Kumaras from entering the Lord's abode. So when they were prohibited, now how when children they are angry, children usually they want whatever they aspire to get whatever they want, and when they don't get, they get angry immediately. So these Kumaras they were in the child's body, so they were enlightened sages, but they were also in the body of a child, and they got angry and they cursed these two gatekeepers to be born as demons because they said this is Vaikuntha is supposed to be a pure place and there is no place for people like you. Since you suspect everyone, since you have the quality of being envious, this is not the place for envious people to be. So fall down as demons. They curse them. Hearing the curse, the Lord also comes, and the moment they see the Lord in his personal form, till then they were thinking that the form of Lord is the Brahman effulgence. Once they see the beautiful form of the Lord, they immediately regret having cursed the devotees of the Lord. They realize that they have cursed the devotees of the Lord and they ask for forgiveness. But the Lord says that He has His consent for their curse because once when Lakshmi Devi she left the abode and when she returned back to Vaikuntha, they refused to allow Lakshmi to enter into Vaikuntha. And Lakshmi predicted their befall. So now how they came to into Diti's womb. Um, our shastras say, our scriptures say that when there is a union between a man and a woman, if it is in the auspicious time, then they will give to birth to divine children. Whereas if the union is in the wrong time or at the most inauspicious time, then the children, though the parents are divine, still the children will be demoniac. So this is what happened. Sage Kashyapa and Diti, they united at the most inauspicious time of the day, and these two gatekeepers they entered the womb of Diti. Now, when they entered the womb of Diti, there were a lot of ill omens all around. There was darkness all around. The luminaries, they could not be seen. The sun and the moon, they lost their luster. The jackals were shrieking. The cows, they started to yield blood instead of milk. The dogs were braying. The donkeys were braying, and listening to their braying, the birds started shrieking, and there was so much of commotion all around that the devatas of each and every planet, they came to Lord Brahma and asked, "Is this the time for dissolution?" Because except for the four Kumaras who knew that these two gatekeepers have crashed into the earth, the others, they were not aware of what happened, and they inquired of Brahma, "Okay, what was this? Is this a time for dissolution? Why is all this happening?" So Brahma explains to them that these two gatekeepers were cursed by the Kumaras, and now they are in the womb of Diti. Now, Diti, she could understand that her children being in the womb have created so much havoc. So, once they come out, what will they do? So, she holds them in her womb for 100 years, and finally, when they come out, they began to exhibit uncommon bodily features. They had steel like frames which began to grow just like two great mountains. And when their crowns, it appeared their crowns to be touching the sky. So they were so huge after they were. They were extraordinary. On the birth of these two demons, there were many natural disturbances. See, there were earthquakes along the mountains on the earth, fire was there everywhere. The luminaries in the heavens were screened by masses of clouds, darkness reigned everywhere, and nothing could be seen. The ocean also with its high waves, and the ocean had very high waves, and there was commotion among the creatures inhabiting the ocean. The creatures which were living within the ocean, there was commotion, there was restlessness everywhere. Raising their necks, dogs cried here and there, now in the manner of singing and now of wailing. So, all inauspicious things could be heard everywhere. The elder child Hiranyakashipu was unafraid of death from anyone within the three worlds because he received a benediction from Lord Brahma. He was proud and puffed up due to this benediction and was able to bring all three planetary systems under his control. So, Hiranyakashipu, he meditated on Lord Brahma and he has conquered now up to Swargalok. He was under the impression that he is invincible and no one will be able to destroy him. But that was not so. It was the Lord's plan to teach people that even Hiranyakashipu, who was so powerful and strongly built, could not live more than his desired duration of life. So when we come to this material world, when there is birth, there also will be death. So this is what the Lord wants to impart through this pastime, that whatever great a person you may be, however powerful you may be, however muscle strength you may have, how much of a money power you may have, ultimately it has to end at the end of your life. Why? Because once you take birth on this earth, death is inevitable. Now, after conquering the heavenly kingdom, the mighty demon who was like an elephant in wrath for the sake of sport dived into the deep ocean which was roaring terribly. Now, Hiranyaksha was also, he wanted to impress his elder brother Hiranyakashipu, and he went about creating commotion everywhere. He was searching for a person who would be equal to him in power, and he wanted to fight a battle with this person. This is the nature of a demoniac person. They don't like peace. They just want to fight, they want to destroy, or they want to show that somebody that they can supersede them and they are more powerful than somebody. So this is what they concentrate on. They never think about the Lord at all because they think they themselves are the Lord and master of everything, so they never think about God. So now moving about in the ocean for many, many years, the mighty Hiranyaksha smote the gigantic with tossed with waves again and again with his iron mace and reached Vibhavari, the capital of Varuna. Varuna Dev is the lord of the oceans, and now he was searching. He has tossed in the ocean for so many years, and finally he reached the land of Varuna Dev, that is Vibhavari, which is his capital. And there, as though being very humble, he falls at Varuna Dev's feet and asks him to fight with him. Varuna Dev, he could understand Hiranyaksha's arrogance, and he told him that no other than Vishnu is will be able to fight with you. So he says, I am very old and I cannot come up to this challenge. So you go to Lord Vishnu, who is the best person who will fight with you. He has already taken the avatar of Lord Varaha. So you face him. So and your fighting spirit will be satisfied. So here you can see the Lord is coming out from the nose of Brahma, and here he is carrying the earth and is placing her back in her orbit. Now, Varaha, now Hiranyakashipu is going in search of Lord Vishnu. He meets Narada because when he doesn't find Vishnu in Vaikunta, he meets Narada and he asks him where Lord Vishnu is. Narada, in order to speedify the Lord's Leela, he informs him that Lord Varaha has gone to save Mother Earth. Now, Hiranyaksha will not like that. Why? Because he feels he is the controller of all these earthly objects and he has tossed the earth into the lower regions. So he feels, how can the Lord go and take her away from there? Because the earth belongs to him. And he immediately goes to where Lord Varaha has gone, almost near the Rasatala, and to save Mother Earth. Now, Rasatala, Patala, all these, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Mahatala, Patala, all these are very dirty places. The lower planetary systems are filthy and with people with filthy mentality. So, a big boar you can see is always in a filthy place. So Lord, he takes the form of a boar, though it is not necessary that he should take the form, but it is a will and wish of the Lord. He takes the form of the boar to lift the earth from the filthy place, and as he is lifting her upward, Hiranyaksha, he comes there and he sees the Lord, and he challenges the Lord for a duel. First, he calls him an amphibian beast. He curses the Lord. He uses very filthy words to address the Lord. He calls him as the amphibious beast. And when the Lord is just ignoring him and he's carrying the earth upwards to place her in the orbit, he chases him and he says, "You are a coward because you are not taking the challenge to fight with me and you are running away with what belongs to us. How dare you? You take the earth away from us, which it belongs to us." And he's saying that. The Lord just ignores his comments. Why? Because his first priority is to protect the devotees, and Earth is the greatest devotee. Not only that, she was shivering with fright, and the Lord decided that he has to save her first, and then he would meet Hiranyaksha's challenge. So he just ignores all the insults hurled at him by Hiranyaksha, and he proceeds upwards from the Garbhodaka ocean and places the earth on her orbit. While this Hiranyaksha was abusing, he calls him a coward and he's saying, "You're running away from a fight." We have also seen in Krishna avatar, he is called the Ranachor. Krishna, though he is an all-powerful person, he pretends as though he is running from a battlefield. Why? Because he did not want that others should perish in that battle. Because what's his name? The person he was chasing Krishna, he only had enmity with Krishna. His name was Kalyavan. The Kalyavan, he had enmity with Krishna and he was chasing him. So Krishna wanted that he should take him away from the battlefield and destroy him. He did not want the other devotees and innocent people to be destroyed. So he was called Ranchor for that because he ran away from the battle. But Krishna was not bothered about that. The Supreme Lord is not bothered about all the names and the blaspheming of whatever the people do because he does only what he deems is correct and what is required of that particular situation. So finally, he lifts the boar and he places her on the orbit. And then he transfers to her his own energy in the form of ability to float on the water. So, what is this ability? It is a gravitational force, which the scientists call as gravitational force. Now, if you see this universe, there are innumerable planets which are all floating above, and each one they are floating with the help of gravitational force. But that gravitational force is the potency of the Supreme Lord, and that is why they are moving in such order that nobody can question anything about it. Still, these demoniac people, they say they are just floating on their own. They are just having this, because of gravity, they are floating. What has the Supreme Lord got to do with it? As though there is no control for this planetary system. They defy that there will be any control in the planetary system. In the 16th chapter, this is mentioned, 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the qualities of the demoniac persons is explained in detail. So if you read that, you will understand how they blaspheme the Lord. Now, for example, there is a traffic. Now we are seeing the planets in the planetary system, they're all going in such precise order, and the distance, everything is maintained, and there is no clash at all. Now if you see in this material world, we say the traffic signal, there is a controller behind the traffic signal, there is a traffic policeman, then there is a traffic department. So everything is there, there is a controller to control the traffic. If there is no traffic control, or if there is no police to supervise the traffic, what will happen? All the vehicles, they will end up in an accident. When there is control, each and every vehicle, it moves in its lane. When there is no traffic control, and when the uh, human beings, they defy the traffic control and they drive as per their wish, just as demoniacs do, they behave as per their wish. They do not care for order, they do not care for discipline. If the same thing was to happen in the traffic, what would happen? There would be a huge accident. But have you ever heard of any planets clashing into each other? So, from this, we should understand the inconceivable potency of the Lord, the supreme control of the Lord, which is keeping the planets in its place, it's floating in its place, and it is moving without clashing with each other. So, when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can understand the power of the God. Okay. Now the demon quickly sprang upon the Lord and dealt him a blow with his powerful mace. Now after the Lord, after he placed the earth in its orbit, even the Lord was ready to fight with Hiranyaksha, and he said, "Okay, now I'm open to your challenge." So immediately Hiranyaksha, he springs, and with his mace he hits the Lord. In this way, both of them, they keep hitting each other. And when this is going on, Hiranyaksha hits the Lord's mace so strongly that the Lord's mace falls down. And at that time, all the demigods and Brahma, they all express fear and say, "Oh God, now what will happen?" They are wondering. But the Lord gives a laugh. Why does Lord laugh here? Because he is the all-powerful person. Nobody can do anything to the Lord. This is what even the demigods and Brahma, the first living entity, they were perplexed because they saw the all-powerful, they saw the powerful Hiranyaksha. They thought, now what will the Lord do? But the Lord immediately called for his Sudarshana Chakra, and then they were having a fight again, and the Lord destroyed the mace of Hiranyaksha. Next, Hiranyaksha, he called for a flaming trident, and he hurled that at the Lord. Lord destroyed that also. So in this manner, Lord destroyed all his weapons, and then Hiranyaksha was hissing like a snake to destroy the Lord. Meanwhile, these demigods and Brahmaji, he's telling Varaha, "Oh Lord, please destroy him fast, because the Abhijit time is vanquishing, is reducing, it's passing away. The Abhijit time is passing away, and the darkness is about to come, in which the demoniacs, a demoniac person, they gain more power. So you please finish him before the Abhijit time gets over." Abhijit time is from afternoon to evening, to the twilight. So this, they are not able, they are so perplexed that they are not able to understand that the Lord does not have to wait for an auspicious time to kill the demon. After this, what Hiranyaksha does is he creates lot of illusions with his power. He creates lot of illusions, and the clouds start raining pus and urine, the mountains start raining arrows. He creates lot of rakshasas and rakshasis, yeah, around Lord Varaha, and he tries to create lot of disturbances. But Lord Varaha, simply he just releases his Sudarshan Chakra, and within a minute he destroys everything, because he is Yogeshwar. He is the master of all mystics. Nobody can perform anything without his. I mean, Lord Varaha can destroy everything which Hiranyaksha could not understand. Now, uh, when all his magic forces were dispelled, he tried to embrace the Lord within his arms to crush him. But to his great amazement, he found the Lord standing outside the circle of his arm. So he found that how I'm not able to destroy him at all. So for this, we are given the explanation. The demoniac person always attempts to measure the length and breadth of the Supreme Lord. But the Lord, by his inconceivable potency, can become the universal form. Just as explained in the Bhagavad Gita, he shows the universal form to Arjuna. They are not able to understand that. And at the same time, he can remain within the box of his devotees as a worshipable deity. So he can be as a universal form, he can assume the greatest form, and he can come into in a deity form, and even he can be as the smallest of an atom. So God can assume any form, any size, and which is not which cannot be understood by us. The Supreme Lord Keshava, or the personality of Godhead Krishna, is not bound by any measurement of our calculation. He can remain with his devotee in any subtle form, yet he is unapproachable by any amount of demoniac activities. So, to understand the Lord, you should have faith in the Lord. Only by faith you can understand his presence, and you can see him only by devotional service. Whereas demoniac persons, since they defy the very existence of God. They say that he is not God, you are God, I am God. So they are never able to understand God, and they are never able to understand the strength and potency and the presence of God anywhere on this earth. The demon now began to strike the Lord with his hard fists. Now, because now he had lost all his weapons and all his illusions were all destroyed, he started to hit the Lord on his chest. But for the Lord, when he was hitting on his chest, it was like a feeling when you throw a flower on an elephant, how the feeling would be. It was the same way when Hiranyaksha was hitting the Lord. And what does the Lord do? He just gives him a slap with one of his forelegs. He just slaps him below the ear, and the demon's body begins to wheel, and his eyeballs bulged out of their sockets, his arms and legs broken, and the hair on his head scattered. He fell down dead like a gigantic tree uprooted by the wind. So it does not take even a second for a Lord to kill a demon. But why he allows this? He wants to Hiranyaksha to exhibit his powers. So till then, the Lord is also playing with him. Then one may know that by magical feats, by scientific advancement of knowledge, or by material power, one cannot become the equal of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His one signal is sufficient to destroy all our attempts. So now we see in this modern day, there is so much of scientific advancement, and they think that they are very powerful by creating so many things. But if God desires, in 1 second, everything will be destroyed. His inconceivable power as displayed here is so strong that the demon, despite all his demoniac maneuvers, was killed by the Lord when the Lord desired simply by one slap. So now one may wonder, if God is so powerful, then why doesn't he kill the demon from his own abode? Why does he have to come here and kill the demon? So this answer is one. Lord, he wants to reciprocate with his devotees. The devotees who look upon God for their protection, the Lord appears in front of them and he gives them darshan, and he shows them that, see, I'm killing the demons. Another reason is uh, the devotees, they love to have the darshan of the Lord. That is why he appears. One is he appears for the sake of devotees, to give his darshan to the devotees. Second is to reciprocate their feelings of love. Now there was a king who did not believe in the existence of God, or he did not believe in the power of God. And he asked his minister, he says, you keep saying that God is all powerful. If he was all powerful, why does he come again and again to the earth to kill them? Why can't he kill them from where he is? So here we have to mention the uh, shloka from the Bhagavad Gita. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya च दुष्कृतां dharma samstharpanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge, to annihilate the demons and to protect the sadhus, that is the innocent. He comes, and to establish religious principles, the Lord comes here again and again. So why he comes here again and again? This was the question of the king to his minister. So the minister says, you just give me 1 day's time, I will prove to you that the Lord is, why the Lord comes again and again to this earth. And he orders an effigy to be made which looks like the king's son, and he instructs two guards that morning when the king comes for a walk by the riverside, you throw this effigy into the river. And then the next morning, the king, the minister, and his retinue, they are all walking along the riverside. When the king sees that his son is being thrown inside the water by two guards, and instinctively he jumps inside to save the son. And when he saves the son, he finds that it is an effigy, and he questions his minister. So the minister says, "You had a retinue of people walking along with you, but when you saw that your son was in trouble, you yourself jumped in to save him. Why? Because of your affection towards your son. In the same manner, the Lord loves his devotees so much that he himself comes. He does not depend on anybody else to save his people, or he does not um vanquish them from where he is. Why? Because he wants to show his son that, yes, I love you so much, and he comes himself to save them. And he wants to show them that, yes, I am there for you. If he was to kill them from wherever he is, they will think, yes, there is some power, but they will not know that the Lord is a person and he cares for them as we care for him, as we love him, he loves us in return. So this is the reason the Lord comes, and he comes in various forms as per the time and the place of the particular Leela. Now, even this Lord Boar as Varaha form, he does not think that, oh, I have come as a boar, so who will worship me? No, the Lord does not think about that. He is only concentrating on reciprocating the love of the devotees. So, what form he desires to, he comes. We on this earth, we come when we are forced to come. We are forced to take birth, and we are forced to die, because we are governed by the three modes of material nature. The Lord, who is the creator of the three modes of material nature, is above that. He is not controlled by the material nature. He comes when he wishes to come. So it is his wish when he comes, and he can take any form. He assumes any form, and he goes back whenever he, so he's free to come and he's free to go. Lord is free to come and Lord is free to go. In the Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna, "Janma karma cha me divyam yo me veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna." He's saying, one who understands that my appearance and my activities are transcendental, they do not take birth here again. They do not take birth here again in this material world. So where do they go? Mam eti. They go to my spiritual abode. So the Lord, he does not have to justify his actions to anybody. He comes as per his own will. Even the form of boar has been glorified by Jayadev Goswami, a great poet. In his Dashavatar Shlok, he says, Keshava Dhrita Shukara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hari. Keshava Dhrita, that is, you are Keshava, you have come as a boar, so I bow down to you. So this is the verdict of all the great acharyas, the great souls, the great devotees. This is the verdict given by them, and we have to just listen to that, and we have to understand the pleasure given by the Lord to his devotees in any form he comes. So his inconceivable power here is so strong that the demon, despite all his demoniac maneuvers, was killed by the Lord when the Lord desired, simply by one slap. So now the glories, all of them are glorifying the Lord. Just as I told you, Jayadev Goswami, how he glorifies in the way everybody glorifies the Lord. They compare his bodily hair to kusha grass, his eyes like the clarified butter, means ghee, and the four legs are the four kinds of fruitive activities. So anyone who is in contact with the Supreme Lord by discharging devotional service is understood to have performed all different varieties of yagyas. So when you perform different types of yagyas, then you come close to God. Now, what is the yagya for this Kali Yuga? It is Nama Sankirtan. So we should always do Nama Sankirtan in this Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us the most simple form of going close to God. He always says, you chant the holy names of the Lord, read the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then they also praise that, O Lord, for the residential purposes of all inhabitants, both moving and non-moving, this earth is your wife and you are the Supreme Father. We have been purified by drops of water sprinkled from your shoulder hair by the shaking of your body, which I told you that the Janaloka and Tapaloka, they eagerly take the water from the bodily hair of the Lord. Now, Falashruti. Now, this was the Raktavaraha, which killed Hiranyaksha. This was the Raktavaraha who appeared as Raktavaraha in Chakshusha Manu. in the sixth Manu time. Now, generally, living entities, when you ask them to do a particular thing, they ask, what will I gain from this? So that is the phala. What is the gain? So the phala shruti of listening to the pastime of Varaha avatar is, O Brahmanas, anyone who hears, chants, or takes pleasure in the wonderful narration of the killing of the Hiranyaksha demon by the Lord, who appeared as the first bore in order to deliver the world, is at once relieved of the results of sinful activities, even the killing of the Brahmana. Now, one may wonder why, oh Brahmanas, why the Brahmanas only have been addressed. It is so that when Shukadev Goswami was narrating Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, there was also a great soul over there called Shuta Goswami. So Shuta Goswami, after listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam, he comes to Naimisharanya, where there are so many sages, Brahmanas who are there praying for the welfare of the world. So that is why this is addressed as O Brahmanas. He is telling them the Falashruti. See, one story is told by the other, the Bhagavatam is told by one person to the another, it is passed down. So you can understand this from the this shloka. So those brahmanas in the Naimisharanya, they were addressed by Sutta Goswami. And he says that those who listen to the transcendental pastime of Varahadev, even the killing of a, that is the most abominable activity, like the killing of a brahmana, even they are delivered. That is the power of listening to the pastime of Varaha. It confers extraordinary merit, wealth, fame, longevity, and all the objects of one's desire. On the field of battle, it promotes the strength of one's vital organs and organs of action. One who listens to it at the last moment of his life is transferred to the supreme abode of the Lord, O dear Shaunaka. Now, one must have heard that when a person is lying on the deathbed, they say, read Bhagavad Gita or read Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because at the last moment, at the time of death, the person is unable to chant or unable to recite the Srimad Bhagavatam because of their bodily discomfiture. So when people around them they do this, they are able to listen. They are able to listen even at that time. And when you listen to the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, you are transferred to the transcendental abode. Now, why the stories from Srimad Bhagavatam are recited? People are generally fond of stories, whether it is material story or whether it is spiritual story. But stories, they engross the people. So when you are listening to the stories of the Lord, it has got the result of purifying you. And when you listen it at the last moment of your life, so there is purification, and you're listening to the Lord at the last time of your life, it transfers you to the spiritual abode. This is what Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita also, that at the time of death, when someone thinks of me, he comes straight to me. He does not go anywhere. That is, Lord takes away all their sins, destroys all their sins in a second, and he takes them back to their abode. So that is the power of thinking about the Lord at the time of the death. But how can you think of the Lord at the time of the death when you are practicing already chanting every day and reading the Bhagavatam every day, and then at the time of death you will be able to think of the Lord. Another Falashruti is, if one hears and describes in a devotional service attitude this auspicious narration of Lord Bore, which is worthy of description, the Lord who is within the heart of everyone is very pleased. The Lord resides in everybody's heart as Paramatma, so he is very pleased. Nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. Now, it is the duty of a human being to listen to the Lord's duties. Why? Because it says that uh, a human being should be interested in the ultimate goal of life. So, this is a rhetorical question. Who other than one who is not a human being can exist in this world and not be interested in the ultimate goal of life? So, the ultimate goal of life is going back to Godhead. Why? Going back to Godhead. We are always telling from the beginning, going back to Godhead, going back, because that is our original home. Here we are temporarily here. That is the original home. Now, if you take a fish out of its water, the fish's home is water. If you take the fish out of water, what will happen? The fish will struggle to breathe and it will die. So, the fish is comfortable in water. So, we are also suffering here because this is not our home. We are out of our home, and that is why we are suffering. So the ultimate goal. So when you're a human being, you understand that your ultimate goal is go back to your Father, the Supreme Lord. And that is why the person will read the Srimad Bhagavatam, because he's interested in going back to his father, go back to his house, home, his original home. Then who can refuse the nectar of narration about the personality of Godhead's activities, which by itself can deliver one from all material pangs? So just by listening to the narrations are nectarian. So just by listening to Srimad Bhagavatam every day, it helps one to relieve themselves from this material world. Now the demigods are expressing their gratitude to the Lord. The demigods address the Lord, all obeisances unto you. You are the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and you have assumed the form of a boar in pure goodness for the purpose of maintaining the world. Fortunately for us, this demon, who was a torment in the world, has been slain by you, and we too, O Lord, are now at ease in devotion to your lotus feet. So when demoniac people they create chaos around, they don't allow the divine people to go ahead with their devotional service. So now they are so happy that Hiranyaksha is killed. So now they can continue with their devotional service. So they are all praying to the Lord. So the Lord, after finishing his pastime, he again goes back to his abode. Now, all these interesting pastimes of the Lord is available. This Bhagavatam is available, Bhagavad Gita is available at our ISKCON outlets. Also, it is available in this particular number. You can call this person and ask him for the copy in any language you want. Last and not the least, I pay my gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, who has given us this literature in different languages. He translated all the scriptures from Sanskrit to and Bengali in English, and now in more than 70 languages it is available. So earlier we could make an excuse, no, I don't know Sanskrit, I don't understand what is this, that's why I'm not reading the Bhagavad Gita. I know it's a holy book, that's why I've kept it at home, but I don't read it because I don't understand it. Now we cannot use such excuses, because Prabhupada has given us in each language which we understand. Prabhupada has given us this uh, literature. So we must make the most of it. So it's my humble request to all of you to get a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita. If you cannot read the shlokas, you find it difficult reading the shlokas, you have the Srimad Bhagavatam in the condensed form, which is in the story form. You can read this, and when you are prepared to buy the entire 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, you can read that shloka, and each Prabhupada has given meaning for each and every Sanskrit word, and he has given explanation for each and every shloka. All the acharyas they advise us to read the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. Even Adi Shankaracharya in his Gita Mahatmyam he says, Mala Nirma Mochana Pumsam Jala Snanam Dine Dine Sakrita Gita Amrita Snanam Samsara Malanashanam. Just as you purify your body by taking bath every day, the bath in the Ganges of Bhagavad Gita will purify you from all the material contamination. So we should follow in the footsteps of the Acharya and start reading. If we haven't started now, let us start reading from now. So there's a story regarding this importance of reading Bhagavad Gita, a very small story, after which I will sign off. So there was a small boy who saw his grandfather daily after bath. He used to read the Bhagavad Gita and he used to go out for work. Once he also started imitating his grandfather. He tried opening the Bhagavad Gita and tried reading it, but he could not understand anything. He approached his grandfather and he asked him, Grandfather, even I'm trying to read the Bhagavad Gita, but I'm not able to understand what is there in that book. So the grandfather says, okay, for the time being, you keep the book aside. I will give you some work and then we will understand the Bhagavad Gita. So boy readily agrees, and the grandfather gives him a basket which was filled with coal. He gives that empty basket, and the basket is black in color from inside because coal there was coal in it. The grandfather tells the boy, "You go and fetch water from the sea." They were living by the seaside. So he says, "You go and fetch water from the sea in this basket." The child runs to the seashore and it fills the basket with water. And but by the time he reaches his hut, all the water has drained out and there was only an empty basket. So he looked at his grandfather. His grandfather says, "Never mind, you go. And you maybe you have to take greater effort, maybe you have to run faster, so you go back again and fetch water again." So the boy goes and comes running faster with water, and still the result was empty basket. So this happened 3 4 times, and then finally the boy says, "Oh dear grandfather, how can the water retain in this basket? All of them are going out from the holes which are there in the basket." So the grandfather tells the boy, "Now you look at the basket." The boy sees that the basket is clean, it's absolutely clean, spotless. So grandfather says, "See how when you repeatedly went and brought water, the basket got clean. In the same manner, when you repeatedly read the Bhagavad Gita, your conscious gets clean from within, and when your cleansing process has started, then you will be able to understand the Bhagavad Gita, what the Lord is trying to tell you in the Bhagavad Gita. So first you start reading the Bhagavad Gita. Don't try to understand it at the very beginning. You start reading. Just by reading the words of the Lord, it purifies you. So that is the impact the Bhagavad Gita has on us. The same manner, the transcendental topics of the Lord and his devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam also has a similar impact on us. And that is why the Acharyas, they insist that we should read it, because they care for us. They care for us that we should not come again and again to this material world. We should go back to our original father. And the Acharyas who come on earth, they are here only to liberate us from this Dukkhalayam. This earth is known as Dukkhalayam. So we have to listen to our acharyas humbly and follow their instructions. Thank you for patient listening. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Varaha Dev ki Jai.